Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Leonardo Triple G, this time with another Warframe video. Now, in the previous video I talked about Kuva Leeches. Now I'm gonna talk about Wreckjack. Like I said before, this is a long time coming video. I was waiting for these past 2 months to see what changes they made, what improvements it had, and all I can say is I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed. I'm kind of disappointed that this was one of the new features in the game that I was most looking forward to, because I'm one of those few that actually likes Arcwing. I like to fly in space. I like fighter games. I've platinum 2 Ace Combat games. I love those things, and that's why I enjoyed a little bit of the little bit of Arcwing that the Warframe game has. So when they thought they talked about Railjack, I was like, okay, it's gonna be great. Sadly, it's not. First of all, just like the Kuva Leeches, it's a byproduct. I like to call it not even a byproduct. I like to call it a leftover, really, from the Kingpin system. The Kingpin system was something that was being implemented in the dojos that you do with your teammates, with your clanmates, in order to, you know, go after a boss that will get stronger for each time you encounter it. You have to go to different planets, do different challenges, and then in the end you find it and kill it, which sounds amazing. But of course they realized that not everybody has friends. First of all, not everybody even has dojos. Many people just enter dojo, they research whatever they want, and then they get out. And of course, like I said before, in the Nightwave missions and challenges, they figure out they had those with you go with a friend and do this task, and people complain that they didn't have any friends. Many of them played solo, which I think it's like a big chunk of the player base really in Warframe, because it's a free to play. You don't really have to get that many people together to complete a mission. You can do everything just alone, as long as you're strong enough. So they decided to make it one of those things. And the way you do this is you have to research a cephalon. It will then give you several tasks to build certain parts of your railjack, and then you have to build it. The problem is, this is where it starts. You have to build it in a dojo. You can't have the cephalon and just go to a relay and something and build it. You have to. This part they couldn't just unprogram it out of the game. Because they had to create a new asset for the relays. They have created also this implementation or something. So this kind of attachment was right there a red flag. I was like, I'm building this on my own. I have to fly it on my own, and I have to build it in a dojo. I have a dojo, so I said okay. But then I realized, this is probably not that good. Then once you get it together, you can go and do Railjack missions, which if Digital Extremes decided to make another game and call it Railjack, it will be just fine. It'll be exactly the same. If in the presentation screen you have there the Warframe and Enter or Start, it had another name right beside it and said Railjack and Start, it'll be exactly the same thing, because this is a completely isolated game. You get in your Railjack, you do several missions, and then you get whatever it is you find your railjack is to be used on your railjack. So you board your railjack, and immediately you realize this is not a solo player kind of thing. This ship is really big. It has multiple systems to operate. It has the helm, it has the big gun in the back, and right behind the helm it has a big gun. There's guns left and right, and there's a foundry at the back of it all. So this is really a four-man mission, and you immediately start to sense that this isn't going very well. Then you get into the mission, and there's all this mess going around. There's everything happening at the same time, and even in the first mission, which is just to fly it, you get attacked by ships, you get commanded to board the ships. You have to. And this happened to me. You have your railjack immediately starts taking damage. I mean, you build a rust bucket, and immediately starts taking damage. You have to spend like 80 or 90% of your time just fixing this. And then there's bugs. There's bugs everywhere. There's bugs leaving the ship. There's bugs entering the ship. There's bugs with your weapons. There's bugs when you board the ships. And at one time I boarded another ship. The ship exploded and I just immediately died. It wasn't like they exploded and I was fine like I do now. It was this. There's all sorts of problems now. With missions are exactly one. They're all the same. They're all the same. I mean, you do the missions on Earth. It's exactly the same scenario on Earth. You know, there's not a scenario where you're under the Earth, or maybe the Earth is obscured and it's all dark, and you can see, you know, the little cedars down there or little lights. No, it's always the same scenario. There's always the same asteroids. It always tells you to kill a bunch of fighters and take off a few ships. And it's just the same thing for like 10 levels, and this is the first planet. And I was like, what were they thinking? I mean, 10 missions exactly the same. They didn't even easy you in on it. You know, they could put in, okay, you picked up the Railjack, and now you have to fly through these rings just for you to know how to fly it, you know, because, you know, I play this combat, and that's the first thing they tell you, you know, they tell you how to fly the thing. Then they give you, okay, the second mission you have this little target, the small targets, the spiders, or maybe this asteroids that you have to learn how to shoot, and then you learn how to shoot. Then the third mission you got fighters flying around, and you know, they didn't do anything. They just splurted out and just said, now do this. And of course, if you got 4 friends and you go like, you know, try an hour, you can do it. But, you know, nobody was satisfied. People are now talking about they're going to have a crew, and I don't think a crew will even solve anything, because I failed to see the purpose of this. Of course, there's intrinsics. I know, like I said in the video before, intrinsics are like the way, like the Kuva. Intrinsics are like the Kuva weapons. You know, they're that thing that you must do to get the mastery rank. Honestly, when I saw both these updates, and even before that, I already stopped doing the mastery rank race. Really, I don't give a about what mastery rank is. I think any player at level 12, as long as they put in the time and as long as they enjoy the game, they're a good player. Okay, that's my opinion. 12, maybe 15. There may be things that are gated, but overall, I think that a good player is not determined by the mastery rank. And then what you get for master rank, which is like, you know, void traces and maybe one more slot for mods or something like that. I was like, why would I bother with this right now? I wouldn't, and I don't. So they put intrinsics there, which I can't say they're hard to get. You know, I think a decent amount. Of course, that will scale up a lot more the more the game progresses. But I think it's doable. I don't think it's like, oh, overgrind. But the parts, oh my god, the customization of this ship is just appalling. I mean, you have to get that perfect reactor. Without that perfect reactor, you can't do anything on the ship. The ship won't even survive a mission. Then you have to modify the weapons. You have to modify the mods for the weapons. You have to build the space of the mod to put it in. I mean, oh my god, why would they go up to this? I have no idea where they came up with this idea. And then, of course, there's no really variation of weapon. You don't get like Gatlings or Vulcans or homing lasers or something like that. No, you get if there are homing lasers and homing missiles, because, you know, I haven't played it that much. I'll be honest. I just for like the first 2 months I didn't even touch Railjack. Last month I touched a little bit because I wanted to, you know, at least clear the first planet, which is Earth. And so I did it with a couple of guys, and one mission out of, I don't know, 20 missions, one mission I did with another player was fine. It was just textbook what people want the Railjack to be. You know, you get with your friends, you go in your Railjack, you do these missions, you get stuff, and then that's it. And it kind of sounds good, and when you play it, if it goes without problems, without bugs and everything, it's kind of okay. But then when you start going out with your Arcwing and trying to shoot anything, and you start using your, like I do, the automatic shield, I use the shield to protect myself. It doesn't protect anything. If you use the Larkspur to try and hit anything, the Larkspur, which is that self-guiding homing laser, kind of doesn't do anything. And then, you know, they just separated this too much for what the Arcwing was. Arcwing was, the system there was already tried. It had problems. It doesn't have a lot of people playing it. I think it has more people playing it than right now than before, really. And I think most people are accepting Arcwing. Of course, all veterans don't care about it, but, you know, most new people that play it try it out. They go, oh, they want more. But instead of scaling Arcwing, they just did this completely different thing. And then, you know, on top of the bugs, there's, of course, like I said, the game design. I played flight games, and this is not one. It's not a good one. I mean, if this was just a flight simulator or something, I said this is terrible. I mean, one thing that the enemy ships do is this: when they don't turn around in curves. You know, they just mosquito around. They buzz around you. They buzz around. You don't have that perfect distance to do a shot. And if you try to give chase to them, they just fly in a straight line, all the time. All the time. They just fly away from you all the time. And I was like, isn't this guy going, you know, turn left or right or maybe stall or maybe turn? No. They don't do any like that. They just have this simple programming to run, and you run, and then you have all the others behind you. And even if you turn around, which is a technique that you can do, that I learned to use in Ace Combat, which is if you flee, they all come have to, and they form a line. And when they form a line, you can turn back and shoot them all. You can't do this here because your weapons are just super weak. I even laughed when I saw the Wreckjack move from outside, because that thing is just. Wreckjack, when you see it from outside flying, looks like a puppet on strings. I mean, it really does. It just jitters around, you know, doing all these movements. And I was like, well, it's not supposed to do that. I mean, what happened to physics? I mean, I know it's in space, but you know, there's got to be some physics. And it didn't apply any of it to this game. Any of it. Not to the small ships, not to the Wreckjack. They didn't even include Darkwing and other small Grineer ships that appear on Arc Mission. Or you can put just, you know, spread it around just so people with Warframe have something to shoot at. They didn't even do that. They didn't even. I don't think they even looked at the program they had from those and put them in. And I was like, if you wanted to do a space shooter, which is what Steve and the devs said all the beginning, they said, oh no, we want it to be a space ninja, space shooter. No, you get into a ship, and then you fly through space, and then you complete the mission, and then you come back. And I was like, great. I'm gonna leave from my orbiter with a landing craft, which is a single pilot ship. I'm gonna blast everything until I get to the space cruiser. Then I'm gonna get in and I'm gonna do the mission. That's gonna be amazing. But that's not what they did. Like I said for Kuva Leeches, this needs to go back to the drawing board. Really, they need to. I would be amazed and I would be very happy if they somehow included landing crafts. You know, landing crafts are already very unique. Each one of them, you know, each one of them has its own thing, like, you know, or the Lisette has the support of EMP, which is disconnects all the alarms. It could have a bomb like that in space. It could use a Vulcan, which is a machine gun, basically. The Sheffers has those turrets, so maybe you could have like drones following you, and those drones would shoot at things, you know, like the it's all drones, you know. The Sheffers could have that and have a Gatling gun, because Gatling gun is just more powerful. You have the Mantis, you have the Scimitar with the missiles, you know, the support for the Scimitar launches a bunch of missiles and a carpet mover. So imagine just having something like the Zone of Enders, you know, you lock onto a bunch of targets, then you release all those missiles. I mean, it'd be amazing. There's so much potential for this, so much potential for Wreckjack, and I really wanted this to succeed, but they need to change it. I really think they need to change it. Even just putting the Wreckjack as a node, you know, next to the maybe next to Arkwing on the planet or something like that would be a start. Because right now, if it's a completely separated game, it's not a great, it's not well designed, it's not well programmed, it has a bunch of bugs, and you know, it's no wonder that the devs complain, oh, not many people have done the error program. Of course we haven't. I mean, we want to go to the Sentient Frontier. I mean, I do. I want to go to the Sentient Frontier, but I'm not going to go in this rust bucket kind of public-sized bus to get there. No, I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm not going to build this thing to then blow it up halfway there or something like that. No, I want a proper flight ship. I want a proper spaceship with proper, you know, shielding and armor and, you know, guns, and maybe they could be auto turrets. I don't know. But you know, at this point, I really think they just could move Wreckjack a little bit out of the way and just focus maybe on getting the orbiter to work, because another thing that happens is that you can enter your Wreckjack from your orbiter once you build it. And I was like, well, this is okay, I guess. I don't think, okay, I don't need to go to my dojo to get a team or something. I can just be waiting here on my rail. But then I was like, then why didn't they put this on relays? I mean, if I go and build it in a dojo, and then I have to service it, I think I can service it in my ship. I'm not sure. I haven't built it. Like I said, I haven't built, so I'm not sure. But then, if I leave the dojo, where do I service it? I mean, where do I customize? Where do I build stuff for it? This thing should be on a relay, and that's where your missions should start. You know, they could make an event where you, like the Larunda relay. You know, you have to build this special relay for. Even if you have to build this special relay for the Wreckjacks, or maybe build the special dock in the relays, and you have to give resources. You know, and one of those community events that people. I like it. I like it. You know, people do them, even if they do it like too often. Oh, I'm gonna get resources to this. You know, it's fun. It's contributing to the game. It's contributing to the community. So if they started with that, that would be a good start. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please like and subscribe. As always, have a great game, guys.